Okay, good evening. Today is a special board meeting for the Colton Joint Unified School District. Today is Thursday, June 30th, 2022. I'm calling the meeting to order. And Joanne, would you please take roll of the board members present?
Board Member Dan Flores. Board Member Fuentes.
Present.
Board Member Ibarra.
Present.
Board Member Bertha Flores.
Present. Okay, we do have a quorum, and we do have three board members not in attendance today. But since we do have a quorum, we're going to go ahead and begin. We are going to move on to the renewal of the Pledge of Allegiance. Dr. Miranda, can you please lead us in the flag salute?
Absolutely. Please stand. Stands one nation under God, liberty and justice for all. Thank you. That's okay.
Thank you, Dr. Miranda. Okay. We do have an interpreter present. Abigail Valdez is available for Spanish-speaking persons wanting assistance.
Hola, mi nombre es Abigail. Seré la intérprete. Si necesitan ayuda en español, me pueden encontrar en la entrada. Gracias.
Gracias. Item 1.3, the adoption of June 30th, 2022 agenda. I need a motion. I'm asking for a motion to adopt the agenda with no amendments to the agenda.
So moved.
I have a motion by Board Member Fuentes and second by Board Member Flores to adopt the agenda as recommended. Roll call vote, please.
Board Member Ibarra.
Yes.
Board Member Dan Flores. Board Member Israel Fuentes.
Yes.
Board Member Bertha Flores.
Yes. Thank you. On motion by Board Member Fuentes and Board Member Flores, Dan Flores, the board adopted the agenda as recommended. Moving on to public comment 2.1. Board Bylaw 9323 states that individual speakers shall be allowed 3 minutes to address the board or on each agenda or non-agenda item. The board shall limit the total time for public input on each item to 15 minutes. With board consent, the president may increase or decrease the time allowed for public presentation, depending on the topic and the number of persons wishing to be heard. The president may take a poll of speakers for or against a particular issue and may ask that additional persons speak only if they have something new to add. Okay. Do we have any comments? Okay, we do not have any public comments. We're going to move on we're doing a little different today. We are going to be adjourning into closed session to discuss items listed on the closed session agenda, and then we will return.
Yeah, we're going to move back here.
Okay.
Make it
Okay, welcome, everybody. We're back from closed session. Okay, we have item 4.1. We have personnel public employee appointment. In closed session, on a motion of Board Member Dan Flores, second by Board Member Fuentes, and carried on a 5-0 vote, the board appointed Mitchell Hovey, principal, middle school, at Terrace Hills Middle School. Moving on to 5.0, special presentations. Item 5.1, transforming Bloomington schools, prospecting students and seizing opportunity. I would like to invite Dr. Miranda for his opening remarks.
Thank you, Board President Flores, board members, members of the audience, one executive cabinet member, and good evening, everybody who's listening tonight. We have called this special board meeting tonight to give the an opportunity for the board to focus on an extremely important issue impacting our ability to provide a safe, productive, nurturing learning environment for our students in the South Bloomington community. For years now, Bloomington has been undergoing a dramatic change with the growth of the logistics industry in the area and an increasing number of large developments that create noise, traffic, and air pollution. Our challenge as a district is how to protect our students and staff from the worst of these impacts to the greatest extent possible, and also provide them with school facilities in line with our vision for continuing to grow and improve as an organization and give our students the best advantages for a successful future. That's our vision. I want to thank our facilities department, and especially our facilities director, Mr. Owen Chang, our interim assistant superintendent of business, Ms. Tina Dagnall, and our partners in this endeavor, Terry Tao and Jeremy Burst, who are with Tao and Rossini, for the incredible amount of work they have invested into this issue. Culminating tonight in this presentation you're about to see and listen to. While many of the challenges in this area are out of our control, I'm extremely excited about the plan that we have and that we're able to develop with the board's leadership and executive cabinet and staff's leadership to lessen the impact of those challenges while providing an exciting road to the future of our schools for all our students, and all our staff. So with that, I'm going to ask Terry Tao to come up to the podium, and he will be initiating our presentation at this point, or taking over.
Well, thank you very much. If we could turn to the first slide, please. What's happening in the Bloomington area is a transformative change. The area has become is going to become industrialized, and it's happening overnight. You've seen basically one warehouse come in, and we know that there are other projects that are in planning stage, and it appears that this is an area that is going to change. The slide that we have in front of you is in the Fontana area, and it is near Jurupa Hills High School. And we thought that it would be helpful for you to see what it is that the change in an area that is probably a little denser than the Bloomington area, but what happened in the period of 10 years. So the next slide is what happened in 10 years over in Fontana near Jurupa Hills High School. So we think that it won't be long before the same thing happens in Bloomington, but really what's important for you as a school district and why it was such a difficult task for the school board to deal with is right now, it doesn't look that much different than it did before. The area is still rural, largely in nature over in Bloomington, but what we see is change coming. And that change that's going to come is going to change not only the environment, but it's also going to change the way schooling is done. The school Zimmerman is literally right next door to the large development that's going to happen. So if we could go to the next slide. And I just wanted to show this to you because this is what I envision is going to happen to your 1962 Zimmerman School. It is, the world is going to change around it. This is the house, this is the actual inspiration for the house in the movie Up. And the reason we put it here is because it is indicative of what it is that we're worried about will happen to some of your schools. Largely, if we don't plan for it, then what could happen is you could find some of your schools being passed by, essentially becoming unusable. And we don't want that to happen. So what your facilities department and some really great planners and environmental review did was your facilities department put together a number of letters that went out with regard to a number of developments, including this development, which is going to bring about 2.7 million square feet of warehouses to your area. What they did was they addressed what was in the environmental reports and then took it that much further to have people recognize the impacts that they would have on district schools. That impact that would happen with respect to district schools resulted in some serious discussions, some serious opposition, just short of litigation with regard to this school district and the opposition to these projects, and brought us to where we are today. So today on your agenda, you have two resolutions, which is part of the culmination of the work that has been done by your facilities department working hard on this and the help that they receive from the environmental consultants. So if we go to the next slide. So this is the area that is in question and the schools and areas of direct impact. So we just thought that it would be helpful to show what it is that's coming and some of the developments that will be coming into this area. So we identified truck stops, truck stations, there's going to be development right next door to Slover. This entire area is really changing. So each of those points is a location where change is going to happen, and it's all happening, and it's all happening and will happen relatively quickly. I recognize right now it doesn't look different, but the reality is it will change. So we're catching it very, very early in what's called the planning process in the environmental stage during the California Environmental Quality Act approval process, which gives us the ability to make comments and address impacts that are unique to our school district. So next slide. This is the development for the Bloomington Business Park. It is roughly 2.7 million square feet of warehouses. And this development is going to happen once it's approved by the county board. So the concern really is Zimmerman is right next door. Zimmerman is literally next door to these warehouses. So if we go to the next slide, that is where Zimmerman is. So if you look just north of the lowest warehouse on the right, Zimmerman is right next door. So what we did was we charted the environmental impacts. And if you go to the next slide, these are the environmental impacts just generated from the warehouse and the truck traffic alone. The areas in red are the areas of the highest impact, the largest amount of potential risk, including the increase with regards to cancer-causing particulates that we wanted to make sure that were addressed, and we addressed in letters And this is actually what caused the dynamic shift in the position that was taken with regard to the development. So this is kind of how I look at it. It's kind of like being in a bad neighborhood. If you live in a bad neighborhood, you want to see change. You want to go over and tell the guy who is really loud doing work in his garage right next door, please cut it out. Your kids are sleeping. Or you want to go tell the guy who's playing the loud music on the other side of you that maybe it's not such a good idea to play the loud heavy metal music that you don't particularly like. And the family across the street that's screaming at each other. You could do that and try to deal with all the things that are coming, or you could move. You could just move away from the problem. And what the district has the opportunity to do is exactly that. So as part of the documentation that has been put together is a resolution of selling Zimmerman at a price that will allow the district to move into a new school. And that ability to move into a new school allows you to bring a world-class technological, good learning environment that is up to date, certainly more up to date than a 1962 school to you. And that is moving away from the problem. And I think that rather than stay there and fight and duke it out with all of the warehouse development that is going to go there and elsewhere nearby, we have the ability to do something about it. I also wanted to mention Barbara Heyman is our environmental consultant. All those really long letters, all the environmental problems, all the various items that were mentioned, she wrote all of those letters. She put all of those together. She put the consultants together. And without her, we would not have been able to put together all of the different paperwork that was necessary in order to put together a good opposition to all of this. Next slide. So we are looking at moving to, we have a couple of different options, but one of the options that we're looking very hard at is there's a 28-acre parcel that is off of Santa Ana that we think is a good location for development of a new school. You have the ability to bring a current built educational program there. And now you have with the exchange agreement that we have on the agenda, the ability to bring that new school to you. So I think that is, now we can have the architect come up and talk a little bit about I think Owen and the architect come up and talk a little bit about what's planned.
Next slide, please. As Terry mentioned, we've been focusing on looking at the 28 acres of potential replacement site for the replacement Zimmerman School. As mentioned in previous slides, Zimmerman is over half a century old. While modernization have occurred since 2014, there's still many improvements, upgrades that are needed. Campus such as classrooms, restroom facilities, vehicle circulation, bus drop-off areas. So, while we strive to carry out the vision of the board by continuing to improve facilities for our students, we now have a great opportunity to create a facility that will be transformational. One will that impact the community for decades to come. Next slide, please. So we have the opportunity to design a school that's tailored to the community's specific needs by engaging district leadership such as the board, administrators, teachers, and even students. Really opportunity to create a learning environment that is engaging, fun, flexible, adaptable, and enhance not only the learning environment for students, but one that would also engage encourage greater social interaction and fueling their curiosity. So the staff has been working with LPA architects to look at some concept, basic ideas on what a potentially new campus could look like at the 28-acre site. As some of the board may recall, LPA was competitively chosen a few years ago to update the district-wide master plan. And they're here today to present some of the option, or one option, idea that they developed for the new elementary school. So I do want to mention that the concept design presented is just a test of idea, a test fit to see what a new campus can look like. Ultimately, during the normal design process, we would get engagement from the board, administrators, like I mentioned, and especially community members to build a school by the community for the community. And that ultimate solution may look quite different from what we presented. But again, this is just a test fit. It's just sharing some idea what the potential of the new school can look like. So at this time, I would like to turn the presentation over to Rick Musso with LPA Architects.
Thank you, Owen, and good evening. Thank you all for allowing me to have the fun part of the night and be able to present to you just like Owen mentioned, just an idea, kind of a thought starter, a little bit of a tease actually of what a new elementary school could be for the community in Bloomington. So if you go to the next slide, everything Owen said is correct. We're not trying to suggest what the school looks like. This is really just an idea to say that we did look at the site and it does lend itself well for an elementary school. So you can see the part of the 28-acre site that would be represented for the school site. You go to the next slide. So what you see here is just a diagram that basically proves out the fact that this is a really good shape. It's the right proportion for a new elementary school. And this particular layout you can see here is for approximately 600 students. And the nice thing is when you start from scratch, you can design a school to meet all the current needs, all the next generation education. And we're going to show you some visionary ideas of what that could be. But I wanted to point out a few things about just the site itself. There's a reason for the way it's arranged. If you want to go to the next slide. So you can see vehicular traffic. We show both bus drop-off and pedestrian access to the site, vehicular and bus. The idea when you start from scratch at the school site, you can take all kinds of things in consideration, environmental issues, and more importantly, safety. So you would be able to incorporate things from a new school that you would be maybe a little more challenging to try to incorporate into an existing school site. So if you go to the next slide. This shows more of the internal pedestrian circulation across the school, across the site. And you can go to the next slide. So this just identifies some of the environmental things. We always, when you look at a school from beginning, you look at things like the sun location and make sure that you take full advantage of environmental features. And the wavy lines to the right are actually the Santa Ana winds. You want to make sure that you have a school that you have it properly organized to be able to buffer from any potential future environmental issues that might come from, say, truck traffic and things like that. So you can see the idea of having a landscape buffer around the perimeter of the school site that could actually literally act as a natural environmental filter. And then just by virtue of the way the buildings are organized around a campus. And again, this is just a concept and something that has been used in other school sites, but we would work with, a community or with a stakeholder group and engage in coming up with the best adjacencies that you would want to have for the school. But the idea here is that you would have a safe internal environment for the kids to play where the playground would be. And you would use the buildings themselves to kind of protect the area. So it would be nice, a quiet area from acoustics and from wind and from other environmental elements that might enter the site. So you'd have that opportunity. On another school site, we actually engaged a wind consultant to plot out literally the directions of the winds and plan buildings and fencing accordingly. So you'd have all those opportunities when you're starting with a brand new site. Go to the next slide. And some of the most important features of new is just be able to incorporate some of the things that are happening today in education. Kids learn differently today than they did before. And nowadays we consider all spaces opportunities for education, whether it's inside, outside, And what you want to do is offer students the most flexibility as possible. And so what you can see here, are just some images of projects that were built recently that take advantage of all those things. The center upper image you can see is just an outdoor play area, but it's also an opportunity for learning. There's marker boards, there's things on the outside, and that's kind of an example of what that internal courtyard could look like. It could be really activated with play equipment and bring the kids out and bring a class out. You could read, teach, and then you have lots of opportunities for other types of spaces. If you look to the middle right slide there, that's shows a collaboration area. And this is a school in Desert Sands, actually, where you have your typical classrooms, but then you have large openings that open up into a private area that are breakout spaces for students to come out. Teachers can do small breakout areas. And so it's just the way kids learn these days. So they can either have very small private areas to read, or they could have little work sessions, and you have small areas for kids to do projects together. So you have those opportunities with the way you would lay out the new spaces. You can see other examples of some of the large group areas, the multi-purpose spaces, what those look like today. Those are designed much differently than this room you see today, where they're much more flexible and they have opportunities to open up to the outdoors for overflow and for other types of spaces. I think you can go to the next slide. This is just an image of what it could look like from the street. As you see there, you have an opportunity for a very nice gesture for entry. This particular image shows a canopy that would be kind of a welcome sheltered area, but the idea would be you could incorporate photovoltaics. So you would also not only have a modern school that would have next generation learning, but also perform at the highest level from a sustainability standpoint, which is also a requirement coming down at the end of the year. There's going to be a new building code adapted by the Division of the State Architect that's going to require PV, require a lot of security issues and things that are going to be built into new schools. So this is a great opportunity to have a brand new state-of-the-art school. You can go to the next slide. Here's some more ideas of some of the specialty spaces that you can have within a school. So, it's not uncommon now for some elementary schools to have a theme to them, whether it might be VAPA or STEM. You can see, again, the key is flexibility and spaces that could have robotics labs and science and technology incorporated into some of the classrooms. Really, there's no limits to what can be done even at an elementary school level to make education fun. You can see the slide on the right, a lot of people like that incorporates, this particular project had a grade change. So next to the stairs, they had incorporated a slide, which is probably the most popular piece of that school, I think. So you can go to the next slide. And here's just a kind of aerial view of what this could be. Again, just showing an idea that you could organize your classrooms and create kind of a nice secure center quad area that would allow for lots of different flexible outdoor learning opportunities that the classrooms could open up into. And then towards the top of the upper part of this diagram, that could likely be a multi-purpose space. And then you would have the multi-purpose space open up to an area, and that could be like the lunch shelter. So this again just shows ideas of what the school could be. And you can see we've incorporated even the ideas of solar voltaics on the roof, and then our opportunities to bring daylighting into the buildings as well. Go to the next slide. Now we're going to just show, again, this is just kind of a video fly through and a walkthrough. And again, this is just of other projects, but this just gives you a little more idea of what the spaces could be. So you want to hit play? It's about, I think, 1.5 minutes long. I think that pretty much concludes my part. I just wanted to say what a honor it is, and there's probably nothing better than working with districts, designing brand new schools. It's probably the most rewarding thing that can happen. So thank you for the time, and turn it back to Owen. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Rick. Next slide, please. Wanted to share with the board in terms of the timeline, if we, the board decide to move forward, direction in terms of design new school, it's not going to happen right away. It does take a couple of times or a couple of years to get to this, from design process to construction. So the kids are going to remain at Zimmerman Elementary until the new school is built. So I just kind of broke down some of the key milestones and durations for the project if we were to move forward with the new campus. Just like the warehouse, any new development, we need to go through the environmental analysis for our project as well. So it could vary depending on from 8 to 12 months. We could possibly do it shorter depending on some of the initial analysis, but that can occur concurrent with the design. So it can save some time by doing so. And then despite the great job that Rick has done, we're going to go through the architectural RFP/RFQ selection process to make sure that we select the best team that are available that can partner with us, that share our vision, that can carry out the vision of the board leadership to build this facility that can tailor to our needs and our the wishes of the community. And then once we have the architect on board, we're looking at about 12 to 15 months for the comprehensive design process, which include community engagement, workshops, getting input from working with internally with leadership, with the board, administrators, teachers, students from that process, including the agency review approval. We're projecting about 12 to 15 month review for that, followed by the 6 month of DSA local agency review, 3 months bidding award, and about 18 to 24 months of construction duration. Next slide, please. So this concludes my our team's presentation. I do want to mention quickly in the background image, that is one that Dr. Miranda, Director Orloff, and we went out to Crestmore recently when the new playground structure was completed. Although that's a small project, something that really hit me when I saw the reaction of the kids, the teacher were kind of holding them back and doing a countdown and like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And I was able to capture the reaction of the kids. You could see the smiles, the enthusiasm, and the excitement of going into providing something, a play structure. And I think that to me, it shows why we do what we do. And this is something that inspires me to do our best in terms of providing the best facility we can for our students. And that's what we're going to continue to do in developing this new school for our kids. So with that, I will turn over to the board for questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Owen. Questions from the board?
Actually, before we get into questions, I'd like to provide a little more information on what we're doing with the actions that are being taken tonight. First of all, thank you to Rick and Owen. You can see that there are many extraordinary opportunities waiting for the district in general, for Bloomington in particular. And those opportunities begin with the actions that the board is going to consider tonight. What makes the prospect of a new school possible is the district's real proactive approach to protecting students against new projects. And the particular project that we've been talking about, the applicant is Howard Industrial Partners. They've been working on this project for a long time. And as soon as the environmental documents were in preparation, the district had Barbara and others submit some comprehensive letters on the impacts that we were going to find. And the Howard Group recognized those impacts and began negotiations with the district, which were difficult but fruitful. And that is what resulted in the agreement that you're considering tonight, which is an exchange agreement to exchange with Howard the Zimmerman School property for a smaller site near the district maintenance office on Hermosa. There is a significant cash payment that's going to accompany the property that the district is receiving, making the entire deal worth $45 million. And that's what's going to make it possible to do a new school. The school, as Rick and Owen both mentioned, will not be done overnight. There will be continued occupation of Zimmerman under a lease agreement through to the 2026-27 school year, if it's necessary. So nobody's going to be moving overnight, and there will be plenty of time for this new project to be developed under the agreement and the lease that we're bringing for you to consider tonight. There are two actions to be taken, both by resolution, which take care of the legal requirements to declare the district's intention to exchange the property under the Education Code, make findings regarding the California Surplus Land Act, and also to formally approve the agreement. And both of those resolutions are in the materials that you have in front of you, and they'll be taken in turn. And with that overview of the actions taken, plus the presentations you've seen, we're happy to bring anyone up for questions you may have.
Thank you. Thank you to the presenters for the information that you brought forward today. And thank you again. I think tonight, we're setting the stage of what the future of our Colton Joint Unified School District schools can look like, and how they will impact our students in such a positive way. Moving forward, and looking forward in the next few years, of course, we're going to be involving our community, our teachers, our administrators in every step of the way so that they have input, and because they know the students better than we do, and the community knows our students better. So we're looking forward to the future plans ahead. So thank you for the presentation. Dan Flores?
If I may, yeah, thank you, Board President. I do have one question, but I'll start with comments with respect to thanking staff, our consultants and our attorneys. A lot of work went into this. This is not a process that started overnight or relatively recent. We've been working on this for some time, and I do appreciate the fact that in this instance, a developer approached the school district proactively so we could start a conversation. That doesn't always happen. Sometimes projects move ahead without us even being notified. We have a few cities, one shall remain nameless, who has a tendency to move projects forward without really notifying us, and sometimes don't even respond when we ask for information on the project. In this case, the County of San Bernardino, the developer, worked well with us, and it gave us an opportunity to provide input. I don't think we can underscore enough the impact of this agreement and what it will do for Bloomington and the school district, or quite frankly, the face value dollar amount that we're talking about. And so the question that I have really is simple for whether it's Jeremy, Terry, you've been doing this for a number of years now. There was a neighboring school district that settled with the developer for a similar situation, a warehouse that was being constructed or entitled next to a school. If I'm not mistaken, they settled somewhere in the neighborhood of $200,000 to $300,000. And they took that as a win, as a victory, the environmental justice community, the Attorney General's office. The dollar amount of this project is obviously substantially more than that, and it'll deliver essentially a new school. In your experience, has there been any other school district in the state of California that has had a similar type of settlement with a dollar amount, even in that ballpark? I'm just curious.
My answer is no. I've been doing this a long time, and I have not seen a a dispute, a new project coming in that has resulted in this sort of successful outcome for all the parties. Typically what happens is comment letters are submitted, and under the California Environmental Quality Act, you have a very short window if you don't like a project to sue, and you go through the expensive litigation process. You can't stop a project. You can delay it, and sometimes you can get some project changes, and sometimes there will be a payment as part of a settlement. That's what happened in the case of Fontana. Not only did they go through litigation, but they also had the involvement of the state attorney general's office. And what they ended up with at the end of the day was some community benefits, and for the district, just over $200,000 for some improvements to a high school right next door to an enormous project to pay for some air quality filters and other enhancements. But nothing on the scope or frankly, the vision of the agreement that you're looking at tonight, where I think to the credit of the developer and also district staff who conducted these negotiations, recognizing that going to court and litigating a CEQA case and coming out with delays and expenses for the developer and maybe some modifications for the school district doesn't really help anybody. And it was not easy coming to these conclusions, but I think everyone recognized it as a much better outcome than going out and litigating over it. And that has made all the difference. And I salute the leadership, Dr. Miranda and the others here, as well as the consultants who set the stage for this by actually doing the legwork, doing the analysis, not just yelling and screaming, this will be bad, but actually presenting analysis showing through scientific method, these will be the impacts. These will be the increased pollutants, the increased noise, the increased traffic. And that is the way that you can force action and show a project applicant that you're serious about discussions. And everyone worked in good faith and came out with this agreement at the end.
I was just going to say one thing. Generally, school districts are shy to make waves. They don't usually want to threaten litigation or make too big of a wave with regard to the impacts from neighboring developments. Most school districts just take it. And that's why you don't typically see settlements anywhere close to this or resolutions anywhere close to this. I will say that this board is much more proactive, much more willing to look out for the interests of your kids. And that is what resulted in today. You saw it in a previous development. We ended up going to the mat on it. So in this case, you showed them that you weren't shy, you were willing to go to the mat if necessary, and that's why you got the resolution that you got.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And I want to thank my colleagues, all of us on the board, because again, we've had a lot of conversations about this, and this is not an easy decision, but as was shared, it takes courage. I think we're doing the right thing. We're protecting our kids, our students, which is our primary charge. And it's going to kickstart a bit of a renaissance here, I think, in Bloomington. And it's not just one school, but it could affect 2, 3, or more schools in the district in a positive way. So I appreciate my colleagues, the questions, the input. We were put here to make difficult decisions, but at the end of the day, doing the right thing is the most important, whether it's easy or not. So I appreciate everybody. So thank you.
Okay. Well, I myself want to thank you also. I was a principal of Zimmerman Elementary School for several years, and I know it shows its age. 1960s, it definitely shows its age. So it's very exciting for the community to be able to look forward to a brand new campus, state-of-the-art campus. So for clarification, the proposed location, the 28 acres, that is our property. Is that correct, Dr. Miranda? That is our property. We don't have to go out.
Yeah. Absolutely, that is correct.
Okay. And also in the slides that you showed, at first I saw that it's right, the campus is going to be on Cedar, on Cedar, but I also noticed that it's going to be on Larch. And if I understood the map correctly, the front of the school will be facing Larch. Owen?
Yes, that is correct. And
Which is really a good idea because Larch has very low traffic versus Cedar. So it's a,
right, that's one of the consideration. We're trying to get it as far away from the traffic at Cedars and more compatible with the surrounding neighborhood, which are primarily residential.
thank you, Owen. Okay, any other questions from board members?
I'll go ahead and make
Yeah,
a comment.
okay.
Okay, thank you, Bertha. Just want to take this opportunity to thank you, gentlemen, and all those who provided the board with all the information in order for us to make this decision. You did an excellent job, Terry, staff, Owen, in preparing us and letting us take a really good look at where we were at throughout every stage of what we had to consider over these last month and a half, real quick. And I truly appreciate it because one of the things that we as board members do, we make the difficult decisions, just like Dan mentioned earlier. And in doing so, we need to be informed. And we need to be able to trust the people who are giving us the information. And in you providing us with everything that we needed to know, creating a really good cohesive base of knowledge of where we were at and what we could or couldn't do, and eventually giving us your professional recommendation will lead us to the decision that we're making now. And that's truly appreciative. The Bloomington community, over the years that I've been on this Board of Education, has had very little to celebrate. And one of the things that I could actually say is that as we move forward, and I think my colleagues can agree, is that celebrating a new school for this community, for our students, for our families, is going to be something that's very epic. Because I think that it's going to draw in the importance of what we do as educators, but it's also going to bring in the opportunity for markability to the area of Bloomington. Because as we all know, high schools, middle schools, elementary schools bring in interests from families when they see these type of facilities developed. And I think that as we take a look at potential renderings and the opportunity to share and grow and expand by bringing in our staff, our community, and all those who are really interested in providing this to be a quality school, it's a win-win. It's a full win-win for Cohen Joint Unified School District, but most of all for our children, our students of our district. So I just want to say thank you because like I said, I've been doing this for a while, and every time we've gone through different, how should I say, legal experiences, I've always learned something. And you were all really great teachers. So thank you for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Ibarra. Okay. Board Member Fuentes.
Yeah, just a quick comment. I'm not going to say everything my colleagues have said already, and just wanted to say thank you also. Everything you brought to the table, everything you shared with us, I think Mr. Ibarra just said it correctly. We learned from this experience, and we're not your typical board. The day we got sworn in to be part of this board, we committed to the health, the safety, the mental wellness of our kids. And that's what we're doing today. We are doing that today because we do care for our kids. And I don't care what anyone says, but we want to do the right thing. And we want to impact Bloomington. And Bloomington sí se puede. In Bloomington, it can happen. So thank you once again. Thank you to my colleagues also, Superintendent Miranda, everyone involved. Thank you. Because it's not easy making these decisions sometimes. But when we have the right people in the right place, I think it's easy enough. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Board Member Fuentes. Okay, as was stated earlier, we do have 2 action items tonight. We have the first one, item 6.1. Okay, so I'm asking for a motion to approve the first one, action item 6.1, which is the adoption of resolution number 2052, intent to exchange district real property with Howard Industry Partners, LLC, and declaring property exempt from the Surplus Land Act.
So move. Go.
Go ahead. Okay.
I'll second.
Okay,
Give
Flores.
it to Dan.
I have a motion by Board Member Dan Flores and second by Board Member Ibarra to approve action item 6.1. Joanne, can we have a roll call vote?
Mr. Ibarra,
Yes.
Mr. Flores, Mrs. Sandoval,
Yes.
Mr. Fuentes,
Yes.
Mrs. Flores.
Yes. On motion by Board Member Dan Flores and Board Member Frank Ibarra, and carried on a 5-0 vote, the board approved action item 6.1. Moving on to 6.2. I'm asking for a motion to approve item 6.2, adoption of resolution number 2253, approving exchange of district real property with Howard Industrial Partners, LLC, and finding the exchange exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act.
So moved.
I have a motion by Board Member Fuentes and second by Board Member Dan Flores to approve action item 6.2. Joanne, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Ibarra,
Yes.
Mr. Flores, Mrs. Sandoval,
Yes.
Mr. Fuentes,
Yes.
Mrs. Flores.
Yes. On motion by Board Member Fuentes and Board Member Dan Flores and carried on a 5-0 vote, the board approved action item 6.2. At this time, it is 7:21 and we are adjourning this meeting.